Hey there friends, and welcome to my skills guide for Tale of Immortal. I'm Icon, and in this video I'm going to talk about everything regarding the topic of skills in this game. I'm going to talk about how to read these screens here. I'm going to talk about upgrading, comprehension, and learning of skills, and we're also going to talk about mind skills and ultimate skills, everything in between. So let's get right started. So first off, let's explain the screen here. Here you see in this little wheel your skills that you have equipped. This is your main attack. It's either martial or spiritual, depending on the school that it originates from. This is basically your standard attack. Next to that is your motion skill, which is your, well, for some classes, it's some kind of evasive skill. For other schools, it's some kind of semi-offensive skill. What all these motion skills have in common, usually they alter your movement or move your character altogether. I personally use these mostly for dodging big skill shots. And let's get over to the next one. Special skills are high cooldown, high damage skills that are, unlike the main attacks, also consuming energy. Special attacks, motion skills, and ultimate skills all consume energy. So let's get over to the ultimates. Ultimates are, well, just like the name implies, very strong skills, and they all have a certain requirement before you can fire them off. This skill here, for example, needs to have some enemies die from poison in its vicinity. Other skills have other triggers. When you install your ultimate, make sure that your skills that you have chosen alongside are capable of triggering these things. For example, here we have a necessity of poison damage. Here I got on my skill a chance to inflict poisonous thorns on the target, which is exactly what we would want. So let's head over to the skill screen itself. I've already taken this a little bit ahead, but I think it's pretty straightforward to understand. Left upper corner is the necessary cultivation stage to master that skill. Here in this scenario, it's a foundation level skill. And then we have the breakdown, cooldowns, costs, skill description. And down here we have those tags, where I already mentioned the poison damage. Every tag is a level up for that skill. And you see the skill is of blue color. There are different colors available in this game. The highest tier of color is red, followed by orange, followed by purple, followed by blue, followed by green, followed by gray. These are from the highest to the lowest tier, the skills that you can learn. These tiers determine how much juice is behind a skill. So wonderful example here, we have a gray tier skill, which can only level up to two levels. And next to that is a red tier skill, highest tier available, which can be upgraded even 8 times. That's a lot more. And besides that, the basic numbers on these skills increase by a lot when you climb up the rarity stages. Now, that's pretty much it what we have to understand here. It's very, very important to know that these lines down there below your skills are very important the higher the rarity goes, but more about that later when we go towards other options of things, other options with your skills. I want to talk about mind skills before I head over to upgrading and comprehension. Mind skills behave a little bit different. They are passive stat boosters. You gain skill points, which you gain by accumulating knowledge, which you gather by sparring with other cultivators, debating with them, training with them. Basically, all these actions increase knowledge, so being good friends with other cultivators pays off in this game. The knowledge you gather can be directly converted into fresh skill points, and as you see here, the cap increases. What does that mean, though? When you mouse over any of these skills, you see that every mind skill has a skill point cost. And that's the flat amount of skill points you need to allocate to implant that skill. Mind skills work pretty much straightforward. You see they are all tied to some straight effect. This one is an auto attack skill booster, and with every level I unlock extra, the attack skill increases. This goes on for all manner of different stats, and mind skills are really valuable. Always try to hunt those knowledge points whenever you can, because it's really, really powerful. Generally said, you always want to have mind skills fitting to your current level of cultivation, because that's one thing you really should always pay attention to. The difference between a tier 1 and a tier 2 skill is dramatic. So whenever you can, put up those higher tiered skills, because they are absolutely worth it. Be that spiritual main attacks or motion skills or ultimate skill. Well, okay, ultimate skills only come at foundation, but the higher the tier of the skill, the more oomph is there behind it, and you should always try to have the strongest skills available. I personally always try to have first a highest tier attack skill if possible, and after that, I aim for mind skills of my highest equipable tier next, preferably attack and defense. Because if you have these base stats, a strong basic attack, strong buff on your attack and your defense, you're pretty well off to tackle the challenges of your new cultivation stage. Okay, enough about that. Let's go to the cryptic things of upgrading skills, comprehension, and all these other question marks up there. So, simply said, the upgrade skill section allows you to level up your skills without using them, because all these experience points necessary for leveling up, you see them down here. This skill will need 720 experience points to hit tier 4. You can either use them actively, or you can invest your soul stones, which you can loot from enemies, and use them for upgrading your skills. As you see here, I'll need a couple of days, I'll need a couple of stones, and then with that upgrading procedure, I can unlock these new tiers. That's all. There's nothing more to that. So comprehension, well, you can either go into the comprehension menu from here directly or via that button. Comprehension is a little bit more complicated at the first glance, but actually it ain't complicated at all. Comprehension allows you to re-roll each of these lines at once. So we're going to demonstrate that with this skill here once. So we're going to roll the comprehension button. And what will happen now is we'll see the costs. Oh, I don't have the necessary sand for that. I'm sorry, guys. We'll have to experiment with this meager thing. So I'll put up the comprehension button. You see here what kind of comprehension sand you will need. These need to be farmed in the outside world. Refer to the tooltip if you want to know where, and a couple of spirit stones. When we go now for comprehend, following things will happen. Here you see it all looks the same. There has nothing changed, but that's only because I didn't roll a higher rarity on these skills. So to roll a higher rarity on these stats, of course, skill must be of higher level. So this didn't work. Let's go back to another skill, and can show you how things should look like. So let's, for example, take this one. Okay, this is wonderful. So we're going to go with the same thing on this skill here. So you see one of these lines is purple. Let's go for a comprehension, and here happens the following thing. Ah, beautiful. Okay. So as you see here, a couple of things have changed. The lines themselves never change. The skill has the bonuses it has. You can't change those, but you can re-roll the numbers. For example, you see here this stat has now changed to deal more damage to enemies that are far away. I want to keep that. This is wonderful. So as we see here, the purple color indicates the rarity of this line. You can never exceed the rarity of the skill itself. So that means if the skill is purple, the lines themselves can also only be purple. This is why red skills are so insanely strong, because red skills allow you to also re-roll these lines on a red level, which is yielding more numbers. As you see here, the gray attack bonus transformed to purple attack bonus stayed still 1. This is because 1 point of attack is actually a lot, but on these other numbers you see it better. So let's just assume, or no, we don't need to assume anything. We see this line here has now worsened. So I don't want that. So I'm going to press the rollback button and I get to keep that. Also, well, let's keep that almost perfect line for the sake of demonstration. And as you see up here, there's your rollback points. Your rollback points are a combination of your insight and the average stats of that skill. So the rollback points also define how many of these lines you can keep. As you see here, my points would be actually high enough to keep all of the lines, but pay attention to one thing. That purple line that cost me 30 rollback points, which means the higher all of these things are developed, the higher the chance is that you will make things worse while comprehending, because you don't have enough rollback points to keep all the good lines that you want to keep. So it's a double-edged sword, but I think you should have understood by now how that system is supposed to work. So I'm going to say okay to that, and let's watch our skill afterwards. So as you see here now, this new version of the skill has way more color in it, and this line is now much stronger. So to comprehend higher tier skills, you will also need higher tier sand. So you see here, we're going to need G4 sand, and yeah, it's all down there in the descriptions. Whenever you wonder where you have to find something in this game, just check it out. It's easy. There's always information in the tooltips screen regarding that. Last but not least, you can and must unlearn skills from time to time. And that's really the simplest part. You just select the skill that you want to unlearn, and here, this one we don't need anymore. You will also get the materials that are mentioned here. Boom, that's that. Learning skills, well, it gets explained during the tutorial, but I'm going to repeat a couple of things here that aren't as obvious when you start out. Learning a skill will need you to sit down for a couple of days, 15 to be exact. You need to select that skill book, and you need to press learn, and there's going to be a couple of Spirit Stones investment necessary. So I'm going to go through this one, and before we start here, a foundation level mind skill will yield 2 attack points on the purple color, whereas the tier 1 skill had only 1 attack point on the purple color. So that's a good example of skills growing stronger when the tier increases. So let's get into that mini game, because I want to explain 1 or 2 things about that. I mean, that you need to collect the blue ones and right click the red ones is quite obvious, but I want to talk about how insight and does influence your behavior here. Because insight does actually increase your learning process. And not only does it increase your learning process, it also increases the amount of rollback points you have when trying to comprehend skills. So overall, insight is a very difficult to raise stat, and I can only recommend it to you to pay attention while you're rolling your character. Insight is one of the most valuable baseline stats to have. Last few things to say about skills before this tutorial is over. When you carry around a orange or red colored manual with you, always store it at the end of the month in your tree vault. You will get robbed if you don't. Cultivators are ruthless, and I've had it that I've lost very valuable manuals, and I was very, very sad about that. So don't get mugged, just store them in your tree vault. Your tree vault is accessible from every point on the map, so from every town in the map, I should rather say, so there's really nothing to worry about. By the way, last words about this, the artisan skills here are not in the least little bit connected to this skill system. They only need skill books, and you just read them, and that's that. Nothing more to that. Okay, so I hope that has helped you to understand your skill system a little bit better. If there are still any questions, just dump them down in the comment section below. And of course, if you have any additions, feel free to add them down there too. Of course, I would really enjoy if you leave a thumbs up on that video to make it more visible to the rest of the world. And last but not least, check out my channel. I do daily content there, so just subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you don't want to miss anything. I also have in the description box down there a link to my Twitch channel where I do regular streams. I have also a link to my Discord community where you can find a lot of like-minded gamers who love Asia games just as much as I do. And last but not least, there are also links down there for direct financial support, because since I do free content, I can use every pair of helping hands. So if you might want to join in, I'd be more than happy, but do know that watching this video already helps me more than you might think. Thank you for that, and catch you guys next time. Bye bye!